Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Simplymidori podcast. I'm Midori,
And I'm Joshua.
and today we're going to be talking about trauma in friendships.
Oh, wow.
Trauma in friendships, trauma and friendships, all the
Let's
trauma.
let's just dive right in. I remember with the story when I was in the first grade, I really always needed to go to the bathroom. So this has been a thing my whole life. And Mrs. Nails did not let me use the bathroom. And I went potty on myself. And it was very, very sad. And there was this girl. She was Native American. Her name was Temperance. Temperance? I think it was Temperance. Something like that. And she never talked to me again. And I didn't have any friends the rest of first grade.
That's really sad.
It was very sad, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was sad. And then I think that from that moment on, until like 8th grade, really, my friendships were very peculiar, I would say.
That sounds like a really simple, overwhelming life experience. It'd be so easy to look over, but it clearly is something that had an impact on you since you're way out of the first grade and you remember multiple details.
I remember it, because I remember that Mrs. Nails was so, like, just a mean person for whatever reason. She was just one of those people that didn't like life.
That's why Mrs. Mills.
Well, ironically, she got hit by a car and died, I think, when we were in the 8th grade. I'm not saying anyone celebrated or anything.
I remember lots of details.
I remember lots of details. I remember because there were so many of moments specifically in her class that I feel like she said things or did things that, looking back, were like, why?
You've had a handful of different interactions with teachers that really crushed your dreams. We can get into those later.
Yeah.
But specifically talking about Mrs. Nels, how do you think that incident in the first grade impacted your relationships, not only through your elementary years into your middle school years, but like now?
Well, I think that I realized that friendships come and go because most of my friends from that, I think I was like P-boy or something.
Oh,
So it was something like that.
it was probably like my type of friend group that labeled you.
Probably. I was a very different person in first grade. As a whole, I looked different. Yeah, it was rough. Anyways,
Well, you look great now.
like,
Your implication implied that your statement implied that maybe you didn't look great in first grade.
yeah.
I probably would have still had a crush on you in first grade.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just say I was a late bloomer, if you know what I mean. I like that wink. As a whole, in first grade, though, I realized that friendships came and went. And so, really, from that moment forward, especially in middle school, because I wasn't athletic, and right, I was vertically challenged, and I had classes, and I had braces, and I had a briefcase, which
like in place of a backpack or in addition to?
No, in place of a backpack, I had a briefcase. Yeah. With loafers.
At a private school or you?
I was at an all-male Muslim school.
So did everyone have A
No,
briefcase?
no, no,
Oh, it wasn't part of the uniform.
no. It was
It was an extra.
it was yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so as you could see where I'm going with my
We'll
inability.
try and find a picture to, or at least like maybe get a sketch of what we think this could look like.
Yeah, I think I was maybe like 4'9", and I was a little pudgy.
That's okay. So how do you think that incident becoming P-boy impacted
Oh wow.
friendships?
It really just took me right back. So
Do you
being
feel like you're more insecure in friendships? Do you feel like no one wants to be your friend?
for sure, I basically from that moment forward, specifically in middle school, the people, the cool kids were my friends because I excelled so much at school. So I was the kid that did my work so fast so that I could read books. And my friendships became the people that needed help with work. And so many of my friendships, from how I navigate it, were from the very beginning transactional.
So you learned how to do transactional friendships very early on.
Very early.
Like, how old are you in the first grade? 7, 6, something?
Something.
Wow.
And because I skipped whatever, kindergarten, first grade, second, whatever grade I skipped, one of those, I was a year younger than everybody as well. So I really wanted everyone's approval and everyone's willingness to like me. And sticking out so much, I realized that the people didn't love who I was. And so I think that even from that moment, I started to change into being more of a chameleon to get people to like me with almost all of my friendships. And so middle school, I believe I had one or two friends, and most of us were competing for the the valedictorian. And so even those friendships, they were friendships, but they were competitive friendships.
So how does that translate into adult relationships? Or how does, I guess not translate, but how do those things show up in your friendships?
With adults, I think that I believe that I continue the cycle of these friendships need, let's just say, value. Like someone needs to be giving something in order for them to be worth my time or energy or effort, because they will probably lead to pain.
So like if you weren't doing, like, did you feel like you need to create so much value by doing something in the friendship so they wouldn't leave you, so to speak?
Absolutely.
And so when they left, if they ever did, it was probably extremely painful.
Yes, and it was I didn't provide enough value for them to stick around.
When really, most likely had nothing to do with you.
Yes. 100%.
So do you think that you've walked away from friendships or that you've stiff-armed friendships due to this cycle?
I think that the people that I have liked the most, the people that yes, the people that I like the most, I have maybe walked away from because other people that I also wanted to like me either didn't like them or didn't get along with them, or they weren't providing value from the standpoint of the mission or the vision that I was trying to execute in that season or in that moment. And therefore, the friendship ended.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, what about you? I just did a deep dive in there.
You did. So we won't. So P-Boy was your nickname.
Okay, I don't think you need to rehash those traumatic events in my life.
That's really sad.
I know. I had a friend named Sam. I think it was Sam. And I remember him, he was also on the smaller side. And even he didn't talk to me.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, it's fascinating looking back and thinking about it because,
Did you still get to go to school every day?
yes, I still got to go to school every day. Yes, I still went to school every day. And it's fascinating because that event, how, like, there's so many things that I don't remember in my childhood as a whole.
Like, there's not a lot of first grade memories,
Right.
specific first grade memories that you have.
Yes. And I can recall that one. Like, it's right there.
That's wild. Yeah, I think my quickest first grade memory from school would be
Making fun of the P-boy.
no, we didn't have P-Boy. I have three specific ones.
Okay.
One was I cheated on a spelling test. The extra credit word was our teacher's last name on the spelling test, and her last name was Reynolds. See, I remember. And there was Reynolds aluminum foil behind me, and I peeped behind my shoulder and I wrote it down. And if she questioned it, I was going to say, well, I was being resourceful, which I feel like is a win also. So I should actually deserve more extra credit.
Wow.
My other memory is I have like a handful of great memories.
Let's go.
I really love doing the Mad Minute.
Yes, you still talk about that.
Yeah, I really love doing the Mad Minute. We got to she had like a jar of Jolly Ranchers behind her, and that's where my love of watermelon Jolly Ranchers came from.
Okay.
There was a kid, Corey, in my class, and we would always try and turn in our homework assignments at the same time, so that way when she was handing them back out, she would say, Corey, Midori, and it rhymed, and the whole class would laugh.
Wow.
I have lots of great memories.
Some things never change.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, how were your friendships?
We always just had like a really good time. Probably didn't take life too serious.
You were not competing for the valedictorian?
No, I got bit by a spider until my eye like really swelled up, like the size of a golf ball. And I went to school. That was probably the worst thing that's ever happened. That was the worst that ever happened in first grade. The cafeteria smelled really bad.
Okay. Okay, let's just skip past your first grade experience. And just keep going maybe to where you see the patterns.
I think my most sad first grade moment was me and my best friend, who's still one of my really good friends now. We were in two different classes. So anytime I went to the bathroom, I would like peep in her door and see if she could see me.
Oh my gosh.
That's about it. Well, I got to see her on the playground.
What do they say in the South? Bless your heart.
So I think leading up to I think my trauma and friendships really didn't start until after like my trauma occurred with my cousin. And it's so crazy how much goes back to that. Because I think I was like very like happy go lucky, like didn't really
Right.
I'd get dropped off at school and I'd be like, bye mom, and just carry on.
Go flounder around.
Yeah, go flounder around, crush my Mad Minute, probably find someone to help with my homework.
Why did you point at me?
Because you said that.
Oh my god.
So I think everything was like pretty
pretty fine and dandy.
Yeah. Like a lot of my friendships from elementary and middle school and high school, I like still have today.
Right.
Like, I think I was that girl that when she got a boyfriend, she like stopped hanging out with her friends and like only hung out with her boyfriend.
Okay. You're that girl.
But they were still my friends. Like, I still saw them, just not as much.
Got it.
Um, and then I think like my adult friendships were just more difficult.
What changed?
I think I naturally went into like self-protecting
Okay.
modes. So like in college, I like I've shared before in previous episodes, I went to school at Lewis University to be an aviation major. We had like four girls in the program, but at the end of the program was just me, so I transferred out. I literally left my major for friendships. And but I had yeah, I guess I still friends with all those girls too. I think when it comes to like pain in friendships, I don't do well. Like if I cause pain or if pain has caused to me in a friendship, then I'm like, I want out.
I feel like you've navigated way more pain in friendships though as a whole. Like you stick around.
Yeah. It does mean there's not pain though.
Well, as far as not being able to do well, well, I guess I was equating not doing well and exiting the friendship.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like I would think that if there was pain and you say that you don't do well with the pain, you would exit the friendship as a result of the pain.
And I did it.
And yes, you didn't.
Yeah, I want to push through. I choose to push through a lot of the pain in my friendships. Like I don't do well. Here's where I don't do well. I don't do well in friendships where I feel like there's false harmony
Okay.
or where I feel like there is tension and it's not talked about.
So, do you have examples or ideas or like what's false harmony to you?
Like I feel like we do friendship uniquely in a sense where we like really do friendships in a close knit way. Where like friends come on vacations, we live next to some of our best friends, like people are at our house a lot. So I feel like in that sense we do friendships like very close. Like if you're gonna be our friend or my friend, like you're get to see like you get to see like everything in my world. And so I feel like I'm very vulnerable in friendships.
Right.
Like when you come to our house, it's going to look like it's not going to look perfect. It's going to be like a little chaotic. It's going to look organic, like how like it is when you have three children.
Right.
Um, and so I think in that sense, and that's I think against like my who I am. Like I would prefer for it to be perfectly put together and everything away and nothing. And I think I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
I was like, the kitchen's chaotic. I can't do this. But I got to shift in order to like be present,
Unapologetically present.
unapologetically present. Yeah, friendships are funny.
So, as you look at your friendships, because you have friends from, right, as long as you can remember, and you had adult friends that you partied with, that you almost are still friends with, uh, and you have coworkers that you are friends with, how do you basically keep all of those people along the journey of life as you've shifted, adjusted, became a wife, became a mother, became an entrepreneur, all of these things. How do you pull all those relationships through, or and why do you choose to pull those relationships through?
Yeah. Like, I really value friendship. So I choose to pull them through because I really believe that God brings people into your world when He wants to bless you. So I think that everybody in my world isn't by accident, but they're there, but we're friends, or we've done a season of life together for a specific reason. And so I'm more committed to the what that looks like long term
Right.
rather than the immediate pain point, which is why I think my pain tolerance in friendships is extremely high. And I think that plays out in the majority of my friendships. I think where I've seen like the teeter totter of friendship is when I have looked at friendships like we're peers, and then there's like an expectation gap of like friendships. So like I have my friend who I've known forever, like our parents are friends, we're friends, type of thing. Like our brothers are the same age, we're the same age. And what I expect from her, what she expects from me is like pretty clear because I've just known her my whole life. So I know how she's gonna show up. I know how I'm gonna show up and everything's going to be fine either way. Um, like I think I told her to come to my brother's house the other day and then I totally forgot to text her about what time we were going. But it's not gonna like end the friendship. It just kinda like, oh well, that is okay. It's okay. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Like I think she told me that she was going to come to our baby shower, then she like didn't come to our baby shower. But it's like, well, it's okay. It's not like I'm going to see her again kind of thing. But I think the expectation. I think what why that friendship works and has worked for so long is that the expectation is super clear. Like because we've just known each other for so long. I think where it becomes like muddled in my experience is when like I really need a friend. Like I think I last summer was like one of the hardest summers that I've experienced like as an adult with children being like one of our experiences holistically as like a family unit. I think you had 4 foot surgeries
Right.
in like a 3 month window, and we're in physical therapy. I'm working full time. We still have 2 children at home. I'm pregnant. I think I was pregnant with someone.
Let's just go.
Or I miscarried. I miscarried twice. So, anyways, it was like the hardest summer. Lots of overwhelming life experiences were happening. And I felt like as a friend, I like waved my white flag. Like I need help from my friends. And the people that I thought would show up, like walked away. Like I was like my probably similar to like your transaction. Like you didn't have enough. Like I waved my white flag, and yeah, like I just felt like my friends like left. And so I got to make the choice of like what that was going to look like.
Why? What, as you look back and you think about the friendships that have ended, why do you think that they ended?
Like I think I'm a really, really good friend. And I'm going to go the distance with whomever my friends are. Like good, bad, right, wrong. I'm your friend till the end kind of thing. And I think last summer it was like, hey, I need help. Like I'm like not doing well. Like my emotions are crazy, my hormones are crazy. And I think what it communicated to me was like I'm too much. Like if I'm not able to like be a really good friend, then I don't deserve your friendship.
Okay.
So it's probably somewhere like a transactional thing mentally. What's what happened?
Do you think then, from that standpoint, adult friendships are transactional essentially?
No, I don't think all adult friendships are transactional. I just felt like the friends that walked away when I waved my white flag were transactional and were proximity based rather than intentionality based. Like if I wasn't in your world or you weren't in my world, then we weren't going to be friends. If that makes sense.
What do you mean in your world?
Like if we weren't working together, or if we weren't going to the same church together, or if we didn't live close to each other, or I don't like so like things like that. Like if it wasn't like just common out, like are we like I don't know that kind of, does that make sense?
Right.
Like if we didn't, yeah, like live by each other, work together, go to church together.
Just shared experiences.
Yeah, like if we didn't have like subconscious like things that we were doing together, or like just natural ways that we were going to see each other, kind of like roommates. Like if I was like I remember living in college with one of my really 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 good friends, and we never really made plans together because we were roommates. So like I would come home and be like, oh, you want to go to the grocery store? I'm gonna just like go to the grocery together. Or she would come home and be like, hey, you want to go to dinner? I'm gonna just go to dinner together. So there was never like an intentional plan. So that way when college was over and we obviously lived in two different apartments, we both were like, oh, we actually have to like make plans because otherwise we're so in this pattern of like just naturally seeing each other that we've never actually had to make plans. We've lived together for 3 years.
Right.
So our friendship, if we wanted it to continue, got to become really intentional. Like, although we only lived like 5 blocks apart, um, like we both lived in River North. I was at like one corner of one street, she was at like the other corner, like 5 blocks away. We still got to like make plans. Like our lives changed. And that friendship worked because we just, yeah, we're intentional with it. And I think this past summer, what I experienced was I waved my white flag and was like, I don't have the wherewithal, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever it being, to like be the one to drive this friendship in an intentional way. So I was like passing the baton, and passing the baton to that my friend to be like, can you help in this, or can you help me, or can you? And I would say my closest friend, she was my close friend, walked away, and I was like, oh, so if I'm not driving this from an intentional standpoint, then like you're not like we're not friends.
Do you think that it was about you not driving it, or do you think that it was about her and what was going on in her life? Like, how do
I
you?
think looking back now, in the moment, I thought it was like her not driving the friendship. And looking back now with a different perspective and in a much healthier space, like your feet work, my hormones are leveled out, all the external things that I wasn't able to control. Looking back, I could totally see how it's she probably also needed something similar, like a friend to drive the friendship. But because I think I was the default driver in the friendship, it became like, well, if I don't do it, then like she's not going to do it. And so I think my triggers from my case history of being raped and that was easier to just start putting up walls. Like, I'm already in so much pain, I can't handle any more pain. Which is so opposite of my character.
Right. What do you think makes a good friend?
That's a good question. I think the first thing that comes to mind is someone who like shows up, and I don't know if it's because we were just talking about showing up that it's like that. I think I don't know if this is necessarily in any order, just more the order that's coming into my head. But I think someone who shows up, someone who like there's like a reciprocal dynamic, kind of like in pickleball, like serve
Right.
volley. Like it doesn't work. The game doesn't work if if only one person is always serving. Um, yeah, someone who's intentional, someone who's unapologetically present.
Right. We read that book from therapy that was all about how we confuse friendships with essentially marriage relationships, and that we create such a commitment on friendships and such a connection, especially with films and TV shows where friends are, you define me and you're the one. And right, we use romantic language to describe friendships.
We read so many books in therapy. What's this one called again?
I would need to look.
Yeah.
However, do you feel that with some of your relationships, you have created a marriage lens on them and therefore they have been painful?
This book you're referring to is the one where it discusses how, yeah, they turn their friend into their.
The book, I can find it and we can put it in the show notes. The book is all about how we take our friendships, we create such a marriage label on them in terms of we want them to be a covenant, in terms of we want them to last, and we want them to never end, and we want them to be perfect and lovely and the best thing in the world for us. And as a result, how we talk about them, how we describe them, the emotional deposits that we put on them are basically only supposed to be reserved for the person that we marry. But because we have blended relationships in marriage because we're getting married later and we aren't getting married at all, but we still need connection and we still need support and etc. These labels are starting to blend over.
Yeah. So what was your initial question?
Do you think because of that dynamic, some of the pain that you've experienced is because of the blend of you've looked at these friendships as
Yeah, I think a lot of the pain is I think there's so that I put so much unnecessary emotional wherewithal. Like I poured so much into these friendships. So that way when they didn't show up, it was extremely painful. Cause like in a marriage, if like in a marriage, like we don't believe in or we don't discuss getting divorced or we have eliminated that from our vocabulary. But it's like that is an option for friendships. There's no like biblical covenant in friendships. So it's like I think because I've poured out so much into these friendships and they've poured out so much into the friendship that when I needed them most and they walked away, it was extremely painful because I put so much unspoken expectation in like a marital standpoint, like what you're referring to. And I think we've talked about recently, you and I, how because I don't have some of those friendships, although it was painful a while ago, like last summer, and the processing through it those months following after, I would say now, I've said to you many times, like I have so much more emotional capacity for you as my husband, for my kids, because it's not going externally outside of the covenant relationship that you and I have.
Yeah.
So like I would say I was showing up as a really good friend when I had those people in my world, and probably not a good wife, or is not, or maybe a good wife, but I could have been showing up as a better wife had I had more emotional, which is a more time and emotional energy to put toward you, but I was giving it away so freely outside of our marriage.
Right.
That book was a great book to read. It was very enlightening, and it's wild that like we've been married for almost 10 years, and like no one else recommended it to us.
Yep. Friendships. Do you have any other thoughts, questions? Do you feel complete?
Yeah. Do you?
I believe that friendships are a key to life.
Yes.
And the more that we can hold friendships loosely, the better our life will be from the standpoint of there's people in our life that we need for specific seasons. And if we embrace them in those moments and we embrace them and we love them and we're also able to release them when it's needed, we would have a healthier whole life.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I was newly graduated from college. I was super young. Lots of stuff happened to me right when I graduated from college. Lots of big decisions were made. um, which says a lot about like college. Like what was I doing in college?
Yeah, what were you doing?
But I remember I was in yoga. I've been practicing yoga at this point for almost 5 years. And one of my really good friends who I also looked up to as like a mentor, she was probably 7 or 8 years older than me. She like, and we lived really close to each other. She was like, I'm moving. And I was like, oh, where, where are you going? And I knew she wasn't staying in Chicago because like her family owned the building that she was living in. So like that if she's moving, like she's not gonna move somewhere else in Chicago. Like she was only gonna live there. And she was moving to some south, I think it was like Asheville. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do if you move. And at this point I hadn't like found church. I hadn't talked to that lady on the steps. My college roommate hadn't gone to AA and brought me to the church that she found her higher power at. So it was very hard for me. And I remember like sitting on my bed and she was like, you're gonna have to be okay with who you are as a person because people are gonna come and go all the time. And I was like, oh, I think it's time to go to the bar. And we left. But those words are like super real. Like people are gonna come and go all the time. And I've experienced that so often. And she's literally just like that, so like nonchalantly. She's like, oh, because she was super secure in who she was. That whole like selfish, selfless. She was really good at that.
That's a great way to end.
Yeah. Until next time.